Join channel here over SubStars. So, in case you're not looking at the screen, it says YouTube dislikes disappear from browser extensions after massive Disney Snow White trailer ratio. Was this a test run? Oh, almost certainly. So Google does not want people to know that the narrative isn't working. That's why they made the dislikes invisible on YouTube, which used to be YouTube, but isn't anymore. And YouTube isn't just a place where you put your videos. Google bought it because they saw it for its ability to have the people express themselves, which terrifies the lizard people because the puppet master narrative would be rejected by the people if there was an open marketplace of ideas. So they had to get control and destroy that ability, which they started to do in 2016 after Trump was elected. Because they didn't want that to happen ever again. Then, after the dementia patient and BJ Queen, the original Hawktua girl, were installed, the White House was doing live streams, and there was almost nobody in the audience, and their videos were getting massively downvoted, and as well as other left-wing politicians, which kind of makes people question something's not adding up here, at least for the executive. How is the most popular executive in history not popular on social media? Something's not making sense. It's like with his what do you call campaign rally things, and there was like a dozen people there, or they'd use a school auditorium, and they'd like close off some of the seats because they were only getting a few hundred people. And then you look at his opponent, Trump, and it was insane. It's like, yeah, this something is not adding up. He's the most popular guy in history, got 82 million votes, but they weren't there before and they weren't there after. I'm guessing they weren't there. Anyway, so what YouTube turned out to be was sort of bait based on that contractual concept of detrimental reliance, where people went on there and invested their time to build up their channels and build the platform, not thinking that Google was going to be so biased. They knew that, like, yes, you're not going to be able to put certain videos up there, copywritten material, objectionable content for, like adult prurient type of stuff. Fair enough. But they were thinking, oh, well, you're going to hear both sides of an issue, left and right, right? Not so much. So then after YouTube captured that audience, then they started kicking off thousands of right-wing channels. In 2016, they go, oh, yeah, we're kicking off thousands of these extremist channels. You look around at YouTube, you're like, no, you're not. There weren't. You're saying you had extremists? You had thousands, tens. They said that there was something like 10,000 channels they kicked off starting in 2016 that were extremist right-wing. So their argument is that they had this extremist channels on the whole time, and when Trump got elected, they saw they had to kick these channels off. No, they were never there. There was very few. Very far right wing was just not a thing on YouTube. I mean, obviously it'd be a lot cooler if it was, though. But anyway, people started going to alt media. But if YouTube had been honest on its terms of service from the start, people would have just went to alt media to start with. Doesn't it seem odd that a platform would remove downvotes? I mean, you're communicating something to the audience. Why would these platforms get in between you and the audience? Well, I don't know. Why would Nina Jankowicz and the Ministry of Truth need to exist? Why would you need... Wait, you're saying we trust the government to tell us the government narrative on things. How's it different than a press conference? Don't you trust the end user to decide what is true or false? I mean, is there going to be some... like felony impeachment for someone if they're caught perjuring themselves? To the Ministry of Truth. And it's like those kind of questions never came up for some wacky reasons. It's like the media and the government were all playing on the same side. So why would they care? Wouldn't it be better for the audience to be able to express themselves and show you kind of the temperature of the country, if politicians were popular or not popular, or if certain narratives were popular or not? That only makes sense if things are open and honest, and they are far from that. They are a managed narrative that is a lie. The past few years with the Wu flu and Biden should have taught you to assume whatever the mainstream media is not true. They are so corrupt, it's better to start with that assumption that the government media are lying to you, because they get caught lying all the time. Literally, I mean, how many of those CNN, MSNBC edited videos do you need to see? It's like if it wasn't for a guy with a cell phone watching Hillary Clinton collapse, you never would have heard of it from the mainstream media. Or the Covington Catholic kids. They had that video the whole time where an alcoholic walks up and assaults a child, and the media narrative was, oh, the child must have gone up to him and just stood there silently. And then you watch the whole video. It's like, wait, but you had the whole video the whole time. Why'd you only show some of it? Or Kyle Rittenhouse. Like, if you look at the whole video, you see who was being pursued the whole time. It's like, oh, well, we're not going to show that because we're liars. Yes, we know. They're so corrupt, it's better just to start with that assumption. And these social media companies, unfortunately, are only too happy to run cover for them. We, the people, don't run the country via our elected representatives. Google and other corporations, the banking industry, all these NGOs, are the ones who actually run the country. These jural entities have way too much influence, and it doesn't seem to concern any of our representatives. Anyway, the browser extension shows you the downvotes, which Google is trying to shut that down. And like a lot of the companies, what Mozilla, Firefox are pretty woke, and what Google is Chrome, I think, or is that Microsoft? I think they're probably on the same page with Google because they don't want that information to be available to the public, which sounds crazy. Well, why is Google so desperate to protect politicians or Hollywoods? It just seems like much ado about nothing, but it's not much ado about nothing. All this stuff is, when you talk about pop culture videos, because it's a facet of the crystal. It's like with race swapping with the shows and movies. Oh, what do you care? Race isn't even important. If it wasn't important, you wouldn't have switched it. They're doing this, and these are billion-dollar companies. This is important to them. It's like all the lizard people are playing on the same team, and they're terrified of the people expressing themselves, but also like a massive parallel network. They're terrified of people knowing they're not alone with their ideas and communicating among themselves. They want these puppet masters want a hierarchy, a top-down approach, and we need a decentralized parallel network. And to be fair, a lot of stuff is happening now because of alt media and alternative payment processors, and like there's an entire alternative community that's starting up. You guys should just start your own banks, start your own country. It's a Stone Toss cartoon. So a lot of news is coming out, but it's cringe. One of the pieces is a black Snape on the way to Wheels of Time and Rings of Power getting more seasons. I didn't know anyone still watched Wheels of Time. I thought that was like a decade ago. Robert Jordan's book, but I think they race swapped everyone. It looks absolutely horrible. And they're all, a lot of them are like kind of fat, and it just looks like you threw a net around downtown Los Angeles and just got these kind of mystery people. So the Snape thing is kind of interesting because the left-wing virtue signaling kids are against Harry Potter because I think Rowling said that men aren't women, and apparently that was a bridge too far for these teeny boppers, the SJW slacktivists nowadays, who I guess are so brainwashed that they think that men actually are women because the communist dialectic told us it was, because, kids are very gullible. So are the kids going to go watch the extra diverse Harry Potter, or will they continue their boycott, or will another shiny object come along to distract them? Anyway, Snow White, but nobody is. You get a hot load of diversity all over your face. You wanted a European bit of folklore, and you get no Europeans in the movie because Disney is made up of those lizard people, and this is part of the humiliation ritual of a conquered people. This is kind of predictive programming to get the next generation to think that the European people who, in their godlike wisdom, created all these things, well, they never really existed. These things just spontaneously arose from a vacuum. No, well, they were always diverse. That's what made the stories great. Like, just forget the original stories. This is kind of the year zero concept of Bolshevism, where they want to cut off the history because the history was, the past was better, the present sucks, and the future is going to be a nightmare. Yeah, that's why every year, every day will be day zero if they have to. It's 1984 chocolate rations, because the truth is diversity didn't create this story or any of the classics. European people did, and clearly they are godlike. They must be some Ubermensch, some higher order chosen by God, because Hollywood, in a cargo cult fashion, can only imitate. Hollywood can't create a new diverse story that is also good, because good classic storytelling is organic and tribally based. Usually people are fighting throughout history to stop diversity. It's only through a lifetime of post-war propaganda brainwashing that convinced people to sit on the couch and be bread and circuses enjoyers. So all Hollywood is left with is race swapping the classic stories that these mysterious gods who came before them made, hoping that name recognition will sell tickets. And unfortunately, to be fair, children's movies like Little Mermaid and this are probably going to do okay. Though I think Peter Pan bombed. Maybe that was just too much for people. The Peter Pan was a recent one where it's 100-year-old story or something. It's just diverse abortion on screen, and most of the animations they have are brutally stupid, woke. What was the one I keep trying to remember the name of, where they're gay, mixed race, space communism, and the kids are like BLT or something, and there's like a gay child relationship. It's like, oh, isn't that kind of sexualizing children? Well, what's the difference if it's straight or not? I don't know. It just does seem like there is a difference. Anyway, enter Rachel Ziegler, who has Hollywood main player syndrome, and I suspect that her time in Hollywood is just about over, because most of the movies that she's been in have lost money, and she's alienated too much of her audience. She seems like just a real it seems like she's lacking a lot of self-awareness. So she was talking about Snow White, and she's supposed to be selling Snow White, and everything she said was just girl-powered, stunning, and brave kind of nonsense about how out-of-date the story is, and that only these SJWs could save it, to make a story where she doesn't need to be rescued. Instead, she teams up with native, indigenous, marginalized, and oppressed cannibals who are disenfranchised by the blonde-haired, blue-eyed Aryans out of central casting, who march around with ARs and probably 4x4s and want to put everyone in and what's that costume? What's that costume? Those handmaidens costume, which is, I guess, is made to look like a Christian something, which is kind of weird because Christians don't do that, but there actually is a religion that controls the way women dress. It's weird the left-wing feminists never talk about that. Really makes you think. But no, Christianity, sure, by all means, straw man of this fictional Christian universe. And their evil king is someone who's going to look suspiciously like Trump. They probably name him King Drumpf because that is their idea of subtle. And the queen here is Gal Gadot, who took a break from deleting children in their home so she could be the fairest one of all, except she's not fair and she's 40 something. So none of this is making sense. Right? I know you're not supposed to say that, but her being an evil witch, I suppose, makes sense. But then Ziegler isn't the most fair in anyone's magic land, unless it's a land of, well, so there are billions of people who look like her because she's not special, and Snow White is supposed to be special, fair, and beautiful. Ziegler looks like she's going to pick your pocket and give you an STD. Snow White, but nobody is. It's all diversity hires. The other funny thing is she's taken one side of the conflict over in that Sandy place, and her co-star, Gadot, is obviously on the other side of the issue, very much so, to the point of, throwing around 556. But the smart thing to do when selling a movie is to sell to everyone and not push your personal politics. But in her mind, she assumes that everyone is in her echo chamber and supports the side she supports. People have different opinions on that issue, for sure. It's also, most adults are willing to concede it's a complicated issue, but also they just want some escapist entertainment, to not be reminded about some conflict on the other side of the planet that they don't particularly care about, but unfortunately they're forced to pay for, as well as paying for many conflicts around the world. It kind of makes you ask the question, well, like, wait, what if we didn't pay these people or give Africa $1 billion for some national emergency? It's like, so what do the Americans get? Oh, they got $700. So you took that American taxpayer dollars and you gave literally just Africa $1 billion the other day, and then Ukraine and these other countries. Weird. Weird. Vote harder. Yeah, I don't think that's going to work. Anyway, so she's not a it's kind of weird. Like you like how to say this. Um, she has this opinion on this political with this conflict, right? And then you have to look at like, well, who's pulling the strings at Disney? What side do you think they'll take? Oh, yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's I mean they're definitely on the other side of the issue. They're on Godot's side, which should be obvious to anyone who works in Hollywood. So I guess kind of a gutsy move on her part. It's just that she's just stepped on her dick so many other times that like anyway, so the future of Disney is this sort of thing where it's just woke cancer, which is great because Disney is mask off globalist poison. Everything they touch just turns to this kind of stuff. They have the rights to IPs that should be doing amazing, but instead they want to make gay, race mixed, monkeypox and AIDS type of propaganda. And don't forget, she also tried to cancel Gina Carano, I think, over pronouns or something for some kids fad where they think they're something they're not. The other thing is a lot of these articles, as I'm reading through this stuff, I realize chat artificial intelligence is helping these people write some of these articles. Not this one, but the one before it. Um, it seems like that's also kind of be the future of a lot of IGN, Kotaku, clickbait kind of articles where you can have an AI analyze the Mary Sue, and it can probably put out 90% of the articles, and you don't need to pay anyone at the Mary Sue. You just have the AI do it, and you just have one editor go through it. So I think that's something that's going to be on the horizon is more and more of these articles. It's going to be like a buggy whip situation where there's no reason, like where an AI is really good at collecting pieces of information from around the web based on their kind of magnitude of importance and presence in time, and then just listing those points off. And it's like for a lot of articles, that's all people need. They don't need the human touch. So you're going to see like online digital magazines have been collapsing for a long time since 2015, really, or 2016. I think with Trump for some reason, I don't know what he had to do with it. So AI is going to be the next. You're going to see these people, and good things too, because it's like, could AI even be as biased as like an Alyssa Mercante or something? So most pop culture news is going to be this kind of weird stuff, but like in a few years, you're probably not going to be able to tell, unfortunately. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.